Amara woke up the next morning with a strange sense of foreboding, her mind still lingering on the eerie encounter from the night before. Had Adrian been outside her door, or had she imagined it? Either way, she wasn't about to ask him. She didn't want to give him any more reason to lord his power over her. Her day began like any other, with a list of tasks and a sinking feeling in her stomach. But something felt different in the mansion. The tension was thick, almost palpable, as if the very walls were holding secrets that could tear everything apart. As she worked in the kitchen, preparing for yet another gathering of the city's elite, the staff buzzed with excitement and gossip. Apparently, tonight's party was going to be bigger than ever. High-profile guests, powerful business figures, and of course, Adrian's latest romantic conquest, a famous actress, would be in attendance. The thought of seeing Adrian with yet another woman made Amara's stomach twist uncomfortably. She tried to ignore it, but the idea of watching him parade around with someone so glamorous and unattainable felt like a slap in the face. She pushed the thought away. It didn't matter. She was a servant here, nothing more. What Adrian did with his life was none of her concern. Hours later, as she arranged the final details in the grand ballroom, she couldn't help but overhear a conversation between two of the other maids. "I heard Mr. Blackwood's actress girlfriend is bringing some drama of her own tonight," one of them whispered, giggling. Apparently, she's been hearing rumors about him and another woman. Amara froze. Another woman? Her mind raced. Could they possibly be referring to her? No, it was impossible. Adrian barely tolerated her presence. There was no way anyone could think there was something between them. And yet, her heart pounded in her chest at the mere suggestion. The sun dipped below the horizon, and the mansion was soon filled with the hum of voices, the clink of champagne glasses, and the swirl of luxurious gowns. Amara did her best to stay in the shadows, watching as the guests arrived, one by one. Adrian was there, of course, dressed in his usual impeccable style, commanding the attention of everyone in the room. And then she saw her, the actress. Tall, stunning, with an air of confidence that made every head turn as she entered the ballroom. Her arm was linked with Adrian's, and they looked like the perfect couple, a striking image of beauty and power. Amara's chest tightened. She had no right to feel jealous, but the emotion gnawed at her all the same. As the evening wore on, she noticed something odd. The actress, despite her radiant smile, seemed tense. Her eyes followed Adrian everywhere, a possessive gleam in them that made Amara uneasy. The couple exchanged hushed words throughout the night, and though they kept up appearances, there was a tension between them that couldn't be ignored. It all came to a head just as the night was winding down. Amara was clearing the table in the hallway when she heard raised voices from one of the side rooms. She hesitated, but curiosity got the better of her, and she edged closer to the door. Adrian and the actress were inside, their conversation growing more heated by the second. "I know something's going on, Adrian," the actress's voice hissed. "You've been distant for weeks, and now people are talking. I didn't come here to be made a fool of." Adrian's voice was low, cold. "You're imagining things. There's nothing for you to worry about." "Don't lie to me," she snapped, her voice breaking. "Who is she? Is it one of these women fawning over you tonight? Or is it someone closer?" Amara's heart stopped. She stepped back, her pulse racing as she realized the woman was accusing Adrian of being involved with someone else. Could she really think it was her? No. It was impossible. Adrian despised her. There was no way he... The door flew open suddenly, and Adrian stormed out, his face like thunder. He stopped when he saw Amara standing in the hallway, his eyes locking onto hers. For a moment, they just stared at each other, the air between them crackling with an intensity she didn't understand. And then, without a word, he walked past her, leaving her standing there, stunned. The next morning, everything changed. Amara was summoned to Adrian's office early, her stomach knotting with anxiety. She had no idea what to expect, but after the tension of the previous night, she braced herself for the worst. When she entered, Adrian was standing by the window, his back to her. He didn't turn around when she stepped inside, and the silence stretched on, thick and heavy. "You called for me, sir?" she asked, her voice tentative. Adrian finally turned, his expression unreadable. "I've decided to change the terms of our arrangement." Amara blinked, her heart sinking. "What do you mean?" "You've been working here to pay off your family's debt," he said, his voice cold and detached. "But that's taking too long. I want this resolved sooner." Her stomach twisted. "But I'm doing everything I can." "I know," he cut her off sharply. "Which is why I'm offering you a different arrangement." Amara's mind raced. What was he talking about? Adrian moved closer, his eyes narrowing as he studied her. "You're going to accompany me to a series of business events over the next few weeks. You'll be by my side, representing me as my associate. In exchange, I'll forgive a portion of the debt." Amara's jaw dropped. "You want me to what? Pretend to be with you?" He gave her a thin smile, but there was no warmth in it. "I need someone who can handle themselves in public, someone who won't cause a scandal. My image is important, and I need to maintain control of it. You've been working for me long enough to know how this works." Amara stared at him in disbelief. This was madness. What kind of game was he playing? "And if I refuse?" she asked quietly, dreading the answer. Adrian's eyes darkened. "You won't. Because if you do, I'll make sure your family never sees a single cent of that debt repaid. They'll lose everything." His words hit her like a punch to the gut. He wasn't giving her a choice. He was using her, manipulating her into another corner. And yet, the cold truth was, she didn't have an option. Her family needed this. They needed her. "I'll do it," she whispered, hating the way her voice shook. Adrian nodded once, satisfied. "Good. We leave for the first event tomorrow evening. Make sure you're ready." Amara turned to leave, her mind reeling, but just as she reached the door, Adrian's voice stopped her. "One more thing, Amara." She froze, her hand on the doorknob. "This isn't about you," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "Don't get any ideas." Amara's heart skipped a beat as his words echoed in her ears. He was warning her. No, he was reminding her of her place. But as she left the office, her mind whirled with confusion and fear. What was he really after? And why did she feel like she was about to be dragged into something far more dangerous than she had ever imagined? As Amara walked back to her room, her chest tight with dread, she couldn't shake the feeling that this new arrangement was just the beginning of something much bigger and more terrifying. Little did she know, Adrian wasn't the only one watching her. Someone else had taken an interest in her role in his life, and they weren't going to let things play out quietly. The following evening came far too quickly for Amara. Every minute felt like a blur as she prepared for the first of many business events Adrian had forced her into attending. She wasn't sure what to expect, but the gravity of the situation settled deep in her bones. Adrian had made it clear that she was to be his associate, nothing more, nothing less. And while she couldn't shake the fear of what he had in store, her family's survival depended on this new arrangement. When Joseph, the butler, brought in a formal dress for her to wear, Amara stared at it in disbelief. It was unlike anything she had ever owned, sleek, black, and elegant, with a neckline that dipped just enough to make her uncomfortable. There was no denying that it was beautiful, but she couldn't help but feel like she was putting on a costume, playing a role in a game she didn't understand. As she dressed and prepared herself in front of the mirror, Amara felt like she was slipping into a different skin. She had been Adrian's house help, a servant who cleaned his floors and fetched his drinks. Now, she was about to be paraded in front of the city's most powerful people as his associate. It felt surreal, and yet, she had no choice. When she finally walked downstairs, Adrian was waiting for her at the bottom of the grand staircase. He wore a perfectly tailored suit, his dark hair styled in a way that made him look even more striking than usual. For a brief moment, Amara hesitated, unsure of how to act. But then Adrian's cold eyes flicked up to meet hers, and the tension between them flared to life. "You clean up well," he said, his voice neutral, though there was a glint in his eyes she didn't quite trust. "Is this really necessary?" she asked, her voice soft but steady. She wasn't in the mood to play his games. Adrian's gaze sharpened, and he took a step closer, his tone dropping. "Remember what's at stake, Amara. Play your part, and this will be over sooner than you think." Her stomach twisted at his words. There was something about the way he said "play your part" that unsettled her. But before she could respond, Adrian extended his arm, and with no other option, she slipped her hand into the crook of his elbow. As they stepped out into the cool evening, a sleek black car awaited them at the front entrance. Amara's heart raced, her mind whirling with uncertainty. She felt trapped, and the sensation only grew as they were driven to the event in tense silence. The venue for the event was breathtaking, an exclusive rooftop gathering at one of the city's most luxurious hotels. The skyline sparkled with city lights, and the air was thick with the scent of expensive perfume and power. As soon as Adrian and Amara stepped out of the car, all eyes were on them. Amara could feel the weight of the stares, the whispered conversations that followed in their wake. She kept her chin up, doing her best to mimic the poised women she saw in magazines, but inside, she was shaking. This wasn't her world, and she had no idea how to navigate it. Adrian, on the other hand, was in his element. He moved through the crowd with ease, shaking hands and exchanging pleasantries with high-profile businessmen and their glamorous wives. Amara stayed by his side, smiling when appropriate, but mostly keeping silent as he introduced her as his new associate. It didn't take long for the gossip to start. Amara could see the curious glances, the raised eyebrows, and the smirks that passed between the elite crowd. They were wondering who she was, why she was with Adrian, and what exactly was going on between them. But then, things took an unexpected turn. As the evening progressed, Adrian left her side briefly to speak with an important client, leaving Amara standing near the bar, feeling out of place and exposed. She sipped a glass of sparkling water, doing her best to blend in, when she heard a familiar voice behind her. "So, this is Adrian's latest project, huh?" Amara froze, her grip tightening on her glass. Slowly, she turned to see a tall woman standing behind her, arms crossed and a predatory smile on her face. It was the actress from the night before, the same woman who had been clinging to Adrian at the previous party. "I'm sorry, I don't think we've met," Amara said cautiously, though she already had a feeling she knew where this conversation was headed. The actress laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "Oh, we haven't. But I know all about you. Or rather, I know what you are. Just another pretty face Adrian's using to keep up appearances." Amara's heart pounded in her chest. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, though her voice trembled slightly. The actress stepped closer, her eyes narrowing. "Oh, don't play dumb. You think you're the first woman he's done this with? Adrian always has someone on his arm when he's trying to close a deal. But don't get too comfortable. You won't last long." Amara's breath caught in her throat. Was this true? Was she just another pawn in Adrian's game, disposable once she had served her purpose? Before she could respond, a new voice cut through the conversation. "That's enough." Amara turned to see Adrian standing behind her, his expression dark with barely contained anger. The actress shot him a venomous look, but she didn't say another word. Instead, she turned on her heel and stalked away, leaving the tension between Adrian and Amara hanging in the air. Adrian's gaze shifted to Amara, his eyes cold and unreadable. "Don't listen to her," he said quietly, though there was an edge to his voice. "She's just trying to stir up trouble." Amara swallowed hard, unsure of what to say. The encounter had shaken her more than she cared to admit. But before she could respond, Adrian's phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out, glanced at the screen, and his expression hardened. "I have to handle something," he said curtly. "Stay here. I'll be back." Without waiting for a response, he walked away, leaving Amara standing alone once again. But this time, something felt different. The actress's words echoed in her mind, and for the first time since this arrangement had started, Amara felt a seed of doubt take root. Was Adrian using her? Of course he was. That much had been clear from the beginning. But the question that gnawed at her was, for how long? And what would happen when he no longer needed her? The rest of the night passed in a blur, but Amara couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that things were slipping out of control. When Adrian finally returned, they exchanged a few words as they left the event, the tension between them thick and unspoken. It wasn't until they were back at the mansion, standing in the dimly lit entryway, that Amara finally found her voice. "Is this what I am to you?" she asked, her voice quiet but laced with emotion. "Just a tool for your business deals?" Adrian's expression hardened. "I told you from the beginning, Amara. This is a business arrangement. Nothing more." "But you can't keep manipulating people like this," she said, her frustration boiling over. "It's not right." Adrian stepped closer, his eyes flashing with anger. "You don't get to lecture me about right and wrong. You're here because of your family's debt. Don't pretend you're innocent in all of this." Amara's chest tightened, the weight of his words crashing down on her. She felt trapped, more than ever, in a situation she couldn't escape. But as Adrian turned to leave, something inside her snapped. "Why don't you make this easier for me?" she begged, her voice trembling. "I have already accepted my fate." Adrian stopped in his tracks, his back to her. For a long moment, he didn't move. Without turning around, Adrian spoke, his voice low and dangerous. "I do not give a damn about your comfort." As she headed to her room, hoping to get a moment of peace, her steps faltered when she noticed a car pulling up in front of the mansion. She froze, watching as a familiar figure stepped out, none other than the actress from the event. Her expression was stormy, her eyes blazing with fury. Before Amara could turn and disappear, the actress caught sight of her, and the two women locked eyes. "You," the actress spotted, her voice dripping with venom as she stormed over. "What are you doing here?" Amara's heart raced. "I work here." "Oh, I know you work here," the actress said, her voice rising with anger. "But don't think I don't see what's going on. You think because you're his associate now that you're special? You're just another one of Adrian's little distractions. Amara swallowed the lump in her throat, her hands trembling slightly. I'm not trying to. Don't lie, the actress interrupted, her eyes flashing dangerously. You're just like all the others, thinking you're different, thinking you can change him. But I know Adrian, and you'll never be anything more than a passing amusement. The words hit Amara harder than she expected. She had no illusions about her place in Adrian's life, but hearing it laid out so cruelly stung more than she cared to admit. Just as the situation seemed to escalate, another car arrived, headlights cutting through the darkness. This time, 2 more women stepped out, both tall, glamorous, and unmistakably furious. Amara felt a chill run down her spine. The actress turned, her lips curling into a bitter smile as the new arrivals approached. Looks like you're not the only one wondering what's going on here. The 2 new women strode over, their eyes narrowing as they took in the scene. One of them, a famous model, glanced between Amara and the actress before crossing her arms. So, this is the associate we've been hearing about? I knew Adrian had questionable taste, but this, the other woman, a socialite, sneered.
She's not even his type.
Amara's pulse quickened as the tension mounted. It was clear that these women were not here for a friendly chat. They were here to stake their claim, to remind her and everyone else that Adrian Blackwood was a prize they weren't willing to share. She wanted to say something, anything, to defend herself, but her words died in her throat. She didn't belong in this world, and no matter how hard she tried to keep her head down, it seemed like she was being dragged deeper into Adrian's tangled web of relationships. Before anyone could say another word, the door to the mansion swung open, and Adrian appeared, his expression sharp and impatient. His eyes flicked over the scene in front of him, taking in the 3 women and Amara, and something dark flashed in his gaze. "What the hell is going on here?" he asked, his voice low and commanding. The actress stepped forward, her chin raised defiantly. "We were just discussing your new associate, Adrian," she said, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "Seems like she's been keeping a lot of people curious." Adrian's jaw clenched, but his voice remained calm. "This isn't your business. Any of you." "Isn't it?" the model chimed in, her voice icy. "Because it seems like you're making her very much our business." The socialite crossed her arms, her gaze fixed on Amara. "I'm starting to wonder if she's the reason you've been so distracted lately, Adrian." Adrian's eyes flicked to Amara, and for a brief moment, she saw something in his expression she couldn't quite place, something protective, almost possessive. But then it was gone, replaced by the cold, calculating mask he always wore. "I don't owe any of you an explanation," he said firmly, stepping between Amara and the women as if shielding her from their prying eyes. "Go home. This isn't a discussion." The tension in the air was thick enough to cut, but after a few long seconds, the actress gave a bitter laugh. "Fine, Adrian. But don't think for a second this is over." With that, she turned on her heel and stalked back to her car, the other 2 women following close behind. As they drove away, the mansion's grounds fell into an uneasy silence. Amara let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. Adrian, still standing in front of her, finally turned to face her, his expression hard. "Don't let this get to your head," he said, his voice clipped. "This is exactly why I didn't want you involved in my world." Amara looked up at him, her emotions swirling in a mix of confusion and frustration. "I didn't ask for this." Adrian's gaze darkened. "No, but you're in it now. And if you want to survive, you'll need to learn how to handle it." Amara swallowed hard, unsure of what to say. The truth was, she didn't know how to handle any of this. She wasn't used to being the center of attention, especially not in a way that made her feel like a pawn in someone else's game. But before she could respond, Adrian stepped closer, his voice lowering as he spoke. "This is a warning, Amara. If you're going to keep playing this role, you're going to have to deal with women like them. And trust me, they won't stop until they've torn you apart." His words hung in the air, and for the first time, Amara realized just how dangerous this game had become. She had been thrown into Adrian's world without a safety net, and the women vying for his attention were more than willing to see her fall. But as she looked into Adrian's eyes, she couldn't help but wonder, was he really protecting her, or was she just another piece in his power play?